Hey guys, welcome to our class. This is going to be a class on judicial administration. Basically, we're going to be talking about the courts, all right? But before I get into my little quick overview on what we're doing this week, I just want to reach out and say hopefully you all had a wonderful holiday season. I know 2020 has been a rough year for many of us, and I'm hoping, much like you, we'll keep our fingers crossed that 2021 will be much better, that the vaccines will begin to kick in, and that some level of normalcy will begin to take place in our professional and personal lives. We, for one, we have a grandson that lives in the East Coast, and it's been over a year since we've seen him because of the pandemic. We didn't get back there last year, so hopefully this year we're going to keep our fingers crossed. All right. That having been said, again, welcome. We're going to be talking about the courts in this class. And here in the United States, we have a setup which is called the dual court system. So we have federal courts and then we have state courts. And lump those state courts are local courts. And we'll talk about state and local courts next week. This week, I just want to provide you with a quick overview of what we're doing this week and why it's important. Two key concepts that you're going to learn about over the next couple of weeks are jurisdiction and venue. And jurisdiction and venue apply to both federal courts and state and local courts, right? In order for a court to hear a case, it has to have jurisdiction. And so we'll explain that a little bit further as we get moving along in the class through my announcements and my short module lectures. But understand the issue of jurisdiction and venue are going to be important. They will also be applicable in our scenario, which is going to be part of our milestones. We have milestone 1 in module 3. We have milestone 2 in module 5. And then we have our final project, which is a culmination of milestone 1, milestone 2, and a few other critical elements in module 7. All right, so all of this will come together and hopefully will make more sense as we get moving along. So this week we're looking at a couple things for the federal courts. First thing we're going to be looking at in your discussion board assignments this week is you're going to be looking at federal judges and whether or not federal judges should be elected or appointed. And that is basically the focus of your discussion board assignment this week. Now, there is no right or wrong answer for this particular discussion assignment. I mean, there's pros and cons associated with each, both through the lifetime appointment versus electing federal judges. But what's important is you need to look at this in the context of qualifications and duties of federal judges. So it's important for you to read the chapters of our textbook this week, chapters 2 and chapter 6, and then the additional resources that are offered in module 1, all right, in terms of some of the arguments associated with federal judges and whether or not they should be appointed or elected. So again, qualifications, what you're going to learn is that the qualifications for federal judges is rather minimal, the formal qualifications. But we have informal requirements, and you will learn about those. In other words, over the years, Congress, specifically the Senate, has established informal requirements for federal judges, things that we look for in the appointment process. All right, and as you'll learn in my discussion post, which I will post one every week, there's a short video that outlines how federal judges reach the bench, and that's a little distinction there for you to review. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. First of all, we're going to understand a little bit about federal judges. How does someone get to become a federal judge, and what's that process involved? And then you're going to be looking at, again, the qualifications and duties to support your argument as to whether or not federal judges should be appointed or elected. Your short paper has you looking at the federal court structure itself. And the federal court structure is pretty straightforward. It has United States Supreme Court at the top, United States Circuit Courts of Appeals in the middle. These are the intermediate appellate courts. And then the U.S. District Courts at the bottom. And these are the federal trial courts. And some of the things you're going to be looking at is, again, identifying the proper structure. You're going to be looking at the roles of each tier. In other words, what is the responsibility of the U.S. District Courts? What is their responsibility? Well, hint, they are the trial courts of the federal court system, okay? And then you're going to be looking at the type of cases that each of these tiers might hear. So again, you're going to have to do some reading in your textbook. Chapter 2 and 6 will be very helpful to you. And then finally, the last part of this assignment is looking at the process by which a case might reach the Supreme Court. Because the Supreme Court, you'll learn, only hears so many cases a year. So they reject an awful lot of cases that work their way up, right? They only hear a handful when you look at the number of cases that are appealed to the Supreme Court. They actually review a very small number, right? So I'm going to have you look at the process. In other words, how does a case go from, hypothetically, one of the trial courts and work its way up to the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court's going to say, let's hear that case. We want to hear that case. We're going to hear arguments on that case. So that process. So in my short module lecture, I actually give you an example. So look at my short module lecture. I think that'll help you in understanding what's expected for this first short paper. And then look at my discussion board post. Again, I offer you a video, and then I give you my 2 cents worth in terms of what we're doing this week. Okay, so that's what we're doing first of all. Again, in order to wrap our heads around our court system here in the United States, we need to look at first the federal court system, how they're set up, how the judges reach the bench, the type of cases they hear, and how some of these things might differ than state courts, which we're going to talk about next week. Okay, so that's what we're doing this week. It's a good start. Federal courts are always a great place to begin. Again, Happy New Year. Let's hope 2021 is a better year. And if you ever have any questions, don't ever hesitate to reach out. All right. I'll see you guys in Brightspace. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.